Okay, so today we're diving deep into something I think we can all relate to,
Mm,
alone time.
yeah.
We're going to be looking at some excerpts from this piece called The Importance of Alone Time. And
Okay.
it promises to, go beyond just the typical self-care stuff we hear all the time.
Right.
We're really trying to get to why it's so important to carve out that time for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a hot topic these days, and I think it's more than just, a trendy thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so to really kick things off, what does this source even mean by alone time?
Right.
Is it just like literally being by yourself?
Yeah, is it just being in a room by yourself, or is it something more?
Yeah, is there like a deeper meaning?
I think it does go deeper. I think it's more of a mental state.
Okay.
It's about really disconnecting from all this stuff around us.
Hmm.
All the demands, the stimulation, the constant input.
Yeah.
And it's more about tuning into yourself,
Okay.
your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own.
It's like an inward focus
Exactly, an inward focus.
instead of all this outward stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So it's less about, like I said, being in an empty room and more about creating that space in your mind.
Yeah, and the source really emphasizes that kind of introspection, like really getting to know yourself,
Okay.
like digging deep and figuring out why you believe the things you believe and what motivates you.
That makes sense. And they suggest some specific activities for doing that, right?
Oh yeah, they talk about things like journaling,
Mhm.
going for walks, just being out in nature and really paying attention to your thoughts and not judging them. Just letting them flow.
So it's about being intentional with that alone time.
Exactly. It's not just, scrolling on your phone in an empty room.
Right, right. It's got to be quality.
Right.
So what does the importance of alone time say about the effects of that quality alone time?
Well, it makes a really compelling case that it's not just about, de-stressing.
Mm-hmm.
It actually changes the way your nervous system works. Like it takes you from that fight or flight mode
Yeah.
to a state of rest and repair.
Interesting.
And that has huge implications for, your mental health, your physical health.
So it's not just a mental break, it's like a physiological shift.
Exactly.
I've also heard a lot about alone time and self-awareness.
Yeah.
What's the source's take on that?
Well, it really goes deep on self-awareness
Okay.
and argues that it's not something you can just, you know, figure out by looking in the mirror.
Right.
It takes confronting your blind spots, the things you don't even realize you're doing,
Mm.
your biases, your assumptions, all that stuff that kind of runs in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
And they say that can be uncomfortable,
Right.
but it's essential for growth.
So it's like a journey of self-discovery.
Totally. Yeah, and they give some concrete examples of how to cultivate that self-awareness through alone time.
Okay, like what?
So things like mindfulness meditation,
Mm.
journaling, even just sitting in nature and observing your thoughts without judgment.
And they talk about consistency being important, right?
Oh, yeah, even if it's just for a few minutes every day.
Okay.
Like make it a habit.
It's amazing how powerful these seemingly simple things can be.
Right.
The source also talks about a connection between alone time and creativity.
Uh-huh.
I'm really curious about that. What's that all about?
Well, their argument is that our brains are just overloaded with information all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it hard to be creative. Alone time lets all that noise settle.
Right.
And it creates space for new ideas and insights to come through.
So it's like clearing out the clutter in your mind
Exactly. Yeah. Give your mind a chance to breathe.
and just wander without all those constraints.
Hmm.
But, let's be real. In our world, it's hard to find alone time.
Yeah.
Does the source talk about how to actually do that?
It does. It acknowledges the challenge and it gives some practical tips.
Okay.
One that I thought was really interesting was the idea of micro moments of alone time.
Micro moment.
Yeah. So instead of trying to block out, hours in your schedule, it's more about finding little pockets of solitude throughout the day.
Okay.
Like just 5 minutes before you start work to sit in silence or a quick walk at lunch by yourself.
I love that that feels doable.
Right.
So as we wrap up our deep dive on the importance of alone time,
Yeah.
what's like the one big takeaway you want our listeners to really think about?
I think the biggest thing is that alone time isn't selfish. It's
Mhm.
actually crucial for your well-being, for your personal growth.
Okay.
And this source really makes the case that even small amounts of intentional solitude can have a huge impact.
Yeah.
Less stress, more self-awareness, more creativity.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a good reminder that sometimes disconnecting from the world is the best way to connect with yourself.
Right.
So as we end this episode, I want to challenge you, the listener,
Mm-hmm.
to think about what micro moment of alone time you can add to your routine this week,
Yeah.
even just a tiny change, and see what happens. See how it makes you feel, how it affects your day.
Yeah. Pay attention.
You might be surprised.
You might be.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the importance of alone time.